Hey, it's the main brain Vince Fontaine coming back after a 1-year anniversary where the talks are great, but the people are better. How are we going today, everybody?
Well, that's a voice for radio right there.
Yeah, I'm so impressed.
It's from Greece. It's main brain Vince Fontaine. He's the dude who judges all the dancing.
Have you watched Grease, Danny? I have not watched Grease.
I think I have watched it.
You probably
reckon?
forgot.
But it's been a while.
Yeah.
I'm sure I was forced to watch it in high school.
I'm sure it's probably a good movie.
It's in language and literature, it's always like, or like whatever you call it here in Australia. It's like you have to write theses on it and
it's used a
everything.
lot.
That was a really good intro, though. Good job, Kai.
It's because I played Vince Fontaine in high school
No
during
shit.
musicals.
Well, I think
so-
it rivals Matt for like top spot.
For definitely the
It's like
voice.
first and second place.
I thought a
It's
lot
the
about
rivaling.
how to articulate my words better and become less fast. Say like less.
Boy, we talk really fast.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've listened back, and I'm sure the audience has as well. In our interviews, we speak fast.
I think it's because we get really excited and into the thing we're talking about, and we're all just like that little bit on the like neurotypical spectrum where you're just excited about the thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Especially when it was like when it's you, me, and William.
My brain moves.
Yeah.
At like my brain moves faster
1,000
than my
miles
mouth.
an hour.
And I'll have situations where, as I'm speaking the thing, my brain has moved on, and I forgot about what I was talking about.
the original topic just gets lost in the sauce.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's why I end up mumbling because where my brain is at is a little bit ahead of where my mouth is.
How do you feel about
talking.
your pronunciation? Because I don't think I am good with word things English.
Oh, yeah. I think the big thing is actually enunciation, like trying to say the whole word.
Yeah.
Properly.
A lot of words I'll just skip
Yeah.
as I'm saying it.
Well, in Australia, you just shortened them.
G'day, mate.
G'day,
G'day, mate.
mate.
I've moved to the g'day, mate.
Oh, really?
Have you? You're
Yeah.
back on it?
Yeah.
You know what I used to say a lot? It was super cringe. Howdy.
Howdy. Yeah, I do howdy a lot.
Oh,
yeah.
I also do. I say hi, howdy as my intros whenever
Oh,
I
yeah,
meet
I had
new
a-
people.
so many things.
I saw a
Yeah.
great one where you know how people used to type higher, like HIYA for like higher, and then you just be like, oh, it's what people say when they karate chop things.
Oh. Hiya.
Hiya.
Well, welcome on the podcast, Kai.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
How are you feeling? This is your first time on All the Boards podcast.
Yes.
Do you listen back in our content? Do you consume any
I have.
Boardcast?
So every now and then I'll put it on while I'm just like focused on doing something. So
very
last night, whilst I was doing my little shenanigans, I was putting it on in the background with the 1-year anniversary. Also, happy belated 1-year anniversary. I didn't
you very
realize
much.
that was an anniversary.
I know, crazy, right?
It's crazy how
The
fast time
podcast
passes.
can now walk.
Damn.
We can crawl up on things.
I am scared.
No, just leaving the park at home. People are not going to crawl home by the end of it now.
Well, glad to finally get you on, Kai. You've been a proper regular for All the Boards for quite an extended period of time.
Yeah.
You're actually what I would describe as like one of the OG members. Because you've been around since like the dawn of Northern Boards almost.
Yeah.
Early days when we were back in the other side of
Other
the
side
shops.
of shops, yeah.
We had the old logo. We were kind of in a warehouse, you know.
Yeah, back
You
when
smell nothing but
Song of Ice and
incense all
Fire
the
was
time.
played every like twice a
Yeah,
week
so
or
Song of
something.
Ice and Fire.
What did you come into the club with? Was it Song of Ice and Fire?
So I originally came in I had heard this about the store from a friend because Jackson worked here and I knew Jackson from Games Workshop.
Got it.
So I was told, oh, he works here now. I was like, oh, I'll go check out what he's doing now because I haven't seen him for ages. And I came over and I was like, oh, this is a sweet spot right near me. I didn't realize how close it was because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
live just down the road. I was like, oh, I'll go check it out. And then day one, Jackson wasn't working there. It was you. I was like, okay, I don't know anybody
Who's
here.
this fucking guy?
Oh, yeah.
Who's this guy who looks like he will beat me up?
Luckily, I'm a massive suck up, so I'm sure I tried to be
Oh, you're
friends with-
absolutely great.
That's not too far off my original intro to Northern Boards as well. Was that I discovered it because you actually posted on the MTG trade buy sell page publicly, and you posted about Northern Boards, and I was like, oh, this place is Wangara. It's 5 minutes away from me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
so
went-
close.
I went to go check it out at like 8:30 at night because I saw that you were closing, like the store closes around 10 o'clock. I walked in, there was no one there. It was just you.
Yeah.
I was wearing like a turtleneck. I was looking real like geeky. I was like on a way night out, and I walk in. I was just like, where the fuck is everyone?
There was.
Why's nobody here?
It's like you don't think about it now, but for the first few weeks were actually really popping. Like it was real
really?
busy. A lot of people, because I'd run community clubs before, I'd come from the hobby sphere. The first few weeks were really busy as people came through, but then it kind of tempers out a little bit, and we weren't open 7 days a week. And what happens when you're not open 7 days a week is people then have to know whether you're open or not. You can't just rely on them being open, you know? Right. And that's why I'm a big proponent of every business that we do eventually getting to always be 7 days a week. I want to do the same thing with Burger Boy because instead of somebody, the decision being, thinking about whether Burger Boy is open or not, it's do we go to Burger Boy or not? You know, because if it's open 7 days a week, it's the option for dinner.
It shouldn't be a conscious decision on the customer to be like, are they going to be available?
Yes,
right.
correct,
They just want to be like, should we go tonight?
You want to change what the decision is from are they open to are we going to go?
we gonna go?
Are you already one step ahead from where we were
Cuts
before?
out part of the thinking process. You just like,
And the same thing was for the boards right at the start. People weren't 100% sure. Like we're kind of doing a Thursday night and then a Saturday day and then a Sunday night because it started with just me. Like until Jackson came on, I had no intention of. It started very casual. I was just kind of doing on the side for mostly the Warhammer like fantasy guys is what I was really aiming to do. Something that I wanted to be part of. And but there was a lot of nights because of that where there was nobody in the shop whatsoever. And like just on the last podcast when we talked about it with Nem, when he kind of explained how we first met, it was very much that same reason. Like there was nobody in the shop, so I would go pee across the road so I could see the shop so that I couldn't get robbed accidentally when I was like, you know, off in the bathroom. So, and it's like, it would be, it's hard because I think I always looked at like a game club the same as a restaurant or a nightclub. Like the ambience is super important. Like playing some music, having people around, things going on, like color in the venue. I think is really big. Is really important. Treating it more like a cafe where you create a space that you want people to come down and hang out is very important to me.
100%.
And but that's really hard to achieve when it's just me sitting at the desk when you walk in the door and like you walk in the door and I'm like leering at you like, oh,
trying to do as
hello,
much possible.
hello, new best friend.
And all the boards came at a really interesting like cross section of my life because I was already quite an established Magic the Gathering player, but I was picking up. I only just started picking up Warhammer, and that's why I kind of came down on all the boards. Was mostly because it was a place where we'd also play Warhammer very locally. So it was actually, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have actually discovered all the boards practically. I don't know about you, Kai. I remember my early days of meeting you, Kai. I was getting into Warhammer. I was doing a bit of painting.
Yeah.
And you were coming down a lot and also doing a lot of painting.
Oh, so you guys hadn't met prior to the boards?
No, so me and Kang,
nice.
so I remember the first day we met. So this was the second time I came to Northern Boards because
Kai was like,
I talked to
who
you
is
about
this
Warhammer.
guy? I hate this guy. This guy sucks.
Because Danny had said like, oh yeah, we do like Warhammer, we do everything. We have these table spaces and everything. I was like, it is a quite big store. I was like, yeah, we do some painting over there. So the next week,
Yeah, we had
I
like,
came down
it was
with some painting
one
stuff.
like office like table.
Yeah, and then beanbags.
We always kind of, the beanbags.
Oh, the
beanbags.
Remember the beanbags?
You forgot the
Play
beanbags,
Mario
didn't
Kart
you?
and stuff?
Yeah.
Somebody, Jackson really wanted to bring the beanbags across, and I just had a thing about like couches and beanbags.
I don't think it worked because the beanbags were broken by the time we moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, to me, it was more like it's such a hygiene thing, you know, like
100%.
too much material going on. So
It's hard, like you can't wash a beanbag without going through a lot of hoops.
yeah, a lot of effort. Yeah.
But yeah, and then I just sat down at the table with Kang and Jackson, and obviously I know Jackson, not Kang. And obviously Jackson and Kang have known each other, or have met each other. And I sat down, I was like, yeah. And this was the day that I was like, had a hot glue gun or something, and like accidentally touched my hand with it. And I was like,
Oh my God.
I don't feel that.
Yeah, and that started a
can't-
long string of Kai injuring himself in the shop.
Yeah,
I
all
can't
the time.
remember what you were hot gluing.
I think just a model fell off its base,
Fair.
and whilst I was painting, I just wanted it.
There's a
Stick.
Well and truly, I think there's a small handful of people that are from that like old community, and it's good to see that most of the people are still around.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're still stuck around, and it really kind of is testament to like Northern Boards' environment for people to kind of be here for the long haul.
Yeah.
So
The longevity of it.
absolutely, and
We've seen a lot of the especially the core group at the start here, but maybe on different days doing different hobbies as well. So it shows like an evolution of how like they're kind of venture into the hobbies and how that might change over a period of time as they start to do something like, I think of like Blau and Rachel who started with Magic and now they do Lorcana.
Moved on
and
to
so
does it
Lorcana,
feel
yeah.
like it's been 4 years? Because it's been a bit over 4 years now.
I was going to say, yeah, it happened.
I think we've got to be on our 5th year now.
2019.
the fifth
Yeah,
year.
because it would have been
Yeah, you're right.
would have been about a year down at the Wanneroo markets, and then we've signed I signed a 3-year lease here, and now we're
Does it
past.
feel like 5 years?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think we'd be just into 5 years now.
Because there's
How time flies.
it's always cool to look back and see the different kind of chapters, right, on Northern Boards' journey as we've changed, like how we've approached things and different like games we've played and stuff like that. And it's cool to see the progress. And I think like every year you can really pin down new things happening and new people being around.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean,
And
naturally,
you've been
people
here for
will
like
come
you've
and
been
go,
here fairly consistently as well, Kai. Have you
Yeah.
felt that kind of like progress and
I've
milestones?
definitely, I mean, I used to come pretty regularly at, well, probably when the store moved to this location, I started to come down pretty regularly. And I mean, with just the times themselves, like when the store was open, I remember when there was days that the store was open to 2 a.m. and we'd have those like board game nights and stuff. And I've seen
The late nights.
all the different things happen with the store, but also just with the people that come through. Like when I first came over, when Song of Ice and Fire was firing, like the people then, and then now you have all like these new people into Warhammer and Magic, and you're seeing like all these events where maybe I haven't come here for a week and I come back the next week and suddenly, who are all these new people that I see?
The new faces in something like Commander, especially Commander Nights and in the 40k leagues, it's incredible how we can come every Thursday or whatever, and there's brand new people that I've never met again. And sometimes on a Thursday, it'll be wholly different people to maybe the people that played Commander a year ago. And that shows a little bit of like a thoroughfare of people coming in and out of Magic, but also the like people that are coming in and out of the club as well, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So Song of Ice and Fire used to be your main game. I know you still play Warhammer. Currently, what are you mainly focusing on?
So, I mean, it's changed over the years, but at the moment, Drop Fleet Commander is the big one for me.
Yeah. It's a really interesting game. It kind of came into my sphere actually through you. You introduced it to me as well. And I'm not sure if I'm correct, but it feels like it's coming around a time where Star Wars Armada is really losing its grip on the audience. And then this new game has come out and it's really kind of recapturing that sphere.
I mean, it is a space fleet building war game.
Gotcha.
So a tabletop game. I mean, think about Armada where you have all your big ships and smaller ships. It's similar to that. With Armada, X-Wing as well, a lot of the Star Wars games that are kind of losing a bit of community for various reasons.
Yeah, because me and Danny, I would describe as we're pretty ignorant to the topic here, right?
Yeah.
So what is Drop Fleet Commander?
So Drop Fleet Commander is a spaceship war game set in space in the Commander universe. So they have multiple variants. So there's Drop Zone Commander, which is like your troop people, tanks and things fought on a planet fighting over resources. Drop Fleet is all your spaceships that are getting your troops to the planet, making sure you're getting to the vital resources. So from a narrative perspective, you're dropping the troops. In a gameplay perspective, it's, I mean, an objective game.
So we're talking space opera, big ships.
Big ships.
Does it move around like boats? Because in Armada, the big way that the game plays is that everything is kind of like, think of the ships as like sail ships, where they have directions, port, and broadsides and stuff.
So you definitely have a bit of that. So you have your like arcs, so they'll determine how you can fire your weapons. So your facing of your ships is very important. It's a very big strategy game of what orders do I take? So you can give your ships different orders, so they can do different things. Like you can double their speed by burning their engines, but it's going to light your ship up from the background radiation, make you very visible. The way you measure range in the game is like your ships will have like a scan range, and your scan range will like scan for that background radiation, and every ship will have a background radiation, and then you combine those two values, and that's how you figure out range.
So you mentioned it's set in its own like custom-made universe.
Yes.
What are we talking in terms of like the races? And I know there's humans, but what else are they going to be around?
So there's 6 factions currently. Humans, of course, so they're called the United Colonies of Mankind. So they're kind of your more militaristic. I mean, think of Warhammer, where you have your humans, your space marines. They're more like Cadian.
Their ships look a lot like
kind of like Halo. UNSC, yeah. They're a bit more symmetrical and everything. They got some like asymmetry in some of their ships, some of my favorite ships. But they're on their crusade to take back a lot of their lost worlds. So there's a faction called the Scourge, and they're like a parasite. Like it kind of look like jellyfish. And they're very useless outside of a host, but their whole shtick is they infect like technology and other people and life forms as their hosts, and then they move around and do their things. They're really terrifying.
Mostly what I feel when I go out on a Friday night.
Jellyfish.
The game has,
you never know what you're going to pick up, you know?
Oh, yeah.
The game has really caught my eye with like some really striking ship designs and actually like a decently well-presented like art and universe.
Yeah. The art's great.
But let me distract you. Sorry, continue with your...
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that the Scourge messed humanity up. They took over Earth and ruined it.
So they're the main antagonist.
This is one of the few games where like Earth got taken. Humans don't have Earth anymore. They live on like I believe currently they live on like a robotic man-made planet.
It's a little bit like Battlestar Galactica.
Kind of, actually, yeah. And yeah, they're terrifying in game because all their ships are organic. So it's like all close range stuff. And then you have like the PHR, which are post-human republic. They focus on this giant white orb, which came to warn humanity about the Scourge. And everybody went, "Oh, big white orb! What the hell?" Kind of like
So it's supposed to be like
Destiny, yeah.
they
Like imagine
treat
that white
like
orb.
a representation of like a god or something.
So
So when you mean post-human, are they still humanoid?
So some of humanity decided to follow this orb, and they just disappeared off the face of the universe. And then after the Scourge invasion, they suddenly appeared back as like cyber augmented humans, and it's like half of them were kind of your like super zealot religious worship the orb, worship the orb, and the others were just like, we want to kind of help take back
Like
Earth.
a bit of
Like
an
we're into the orb,
Admeki.
but we're not that into the orb.
yeah, it's like the orb isn't god or all, but it definitely saved
Well, the orb
us.
did, stop us from going extinct. Yeah.
Then you have your Shaltari, which are like a warrior race. They just want to fight, but they have like a code of conduct and stuff.
They're like the Sanghili from Halo.
Halo,
I
yeah.
see where this is going.
They're kind of the reason the Scourge found Earth, because the Scourge, the Shaltari.
Right, the Scourge is kind of like the flood, is it?
Yeah, actually, yeah. That's the best comparison I've heard. Yeah, they're kind of like the Flood, and the way they launch ships is they just kind of like the Tyranids. They consume a planet. They make these giant like guns that shoot the ships into space and try to get out of
Are they
atmosphere.
the ship designs that feel almost biomechanical?
Biomechanical, yeah.
Yeah. With like super smooth edges and designs.
Smooth, kind of more organic, and they're a bit more posable compared to some of the other ships. So they're also a bit more like, not tentacly, but they have a bit
it
more
has the
wiggliness
fins
to
and
them.
it feels like it almost is like inspired by like elegant fish designs almost.
Yeah, and the official art for them is a bit more metallic and shimmery. And I kind of base my own ships off of that because I really like the look. Some people make them like very fish-like, as you said.
So that's
scaly.
4 factions so
Four
far.
factions. Then there's the resistance, and they're the people who are human, as well as a couple of other things, who were used to be under Scourge control, and then they've freed themselves, or like they're just like the remnants of humanity, but they don't really vibe with the whole UCM thing. So in Star Wars,
So how do
think
they
of
free
resistance.
themselves?
So they freed them. So Scourge will keep like human slaves, because they have to wait for a new Scourge to be born to then infect the humans. So there'd be people that were like on the Scourge worlds who would go fight the Scourge, free the slaves, and
Right.
then gather the resistance all
They were
up.
already the resistance on the planet.
Yeah, and they use a lot of...
It's kind of like getting a cold, but the cold's like, well, I'm coming. You just got to wait.
You just got to wait a bit. Yeah. It's like...
You'll get sick next week on Tuesday. It'll make scheduling your days off really
And all your
easily.
antibodies, like white blood cells, are like, fuck it, we're out, and they leave your body.
It's like, oh no. But they use a lot of like old ships, and like one of their ships is literally just a
I like
cargo
that they
ship. It's great.
they bail and they're like, we're also still not the other humans.
Yeah.
Fuck the other guys.
They come back and they're like, we're
United Colonies? No, I'm not with that.
we've been had our like bugs in our brain. We're still not going to do whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
I've had a bug in my brain. What have you gone through? They're weird. And a lot of their ships are like ships for hire, because they just want money. They just want to do things. So you can run them in a lot of other even Scourge, they'll be like, you can get some really funky
They're a little bit
ships.
piratey.
A little bit piratey. One of their ships is literally a yacht that their weapon's called like a party popper. It's really silly, and it's not good, but it's the fact that it's there is great.
Yeah.
We bring the binoculars out, we zoom in, Danny's on the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a little pool on the model or something.
Australia has lots of strippers poles.
Yeah.
This is what they fire.
This is your headcanon.
The enemy ships are like, let them in.
This is like
Oh no, enemy. Wait.
it's like Doom all over again.
Oh.
And what about the final faction?
And the final faction is the new one. So October 2.0 for Drop Fleet came out, and they introduced a new faction called the Bioficers. So they're a weird rogue AI kind of faction. So all their ships are really thin because they don't have to support life. So they don't have to go by conventional means of travel. And I believe humans were the first to get into contact with them, and they didn't know what they were because they had no signs of life. So they tried to go look at the ships. And that was a terrible mistake, because now these rogue AI figured out there's life in this galaxy. And they are all about just absolute chaos. They just want to kill things. No long-term game. They will literally go to things, just try to kill them. If they lose, they don't care. They had a war. If they win, go on to the next
They're AI,
target.
they're robots. They can self-replicate,
Yes,
right?
they're just
Yeah.
like they're
There's no stakes for them.
There's no stakes with them, yeah.
they're like the core identity of just processing. They're just here to do the thing they're supposed
Well,
to do, and that's it.
Speaking of processing, so their whole lore thing is they're called bioficers because they're kind of like alchemists, where they will take their captured prey and like use their flesh and organs to make their own troops. because they're AI, they don't have any
It's
physical
very
bodies.
I don't know if you guys know anything about Mass Effect,
Mass
but the
Effect.
Reapers from Mass Effect.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we don't know where they came from or anything. Who knows long term down the track? Maybe they'll
Very
have
Reaper Mass Effect-y. That's
their
cool. I'm down with that
creators.
vibe.
Yeah, I think that's cool. And
how-
the art for them kind of would remind me of
How
that.
have you been enjoying the gameplay of the game? Obviously, you've been a big, supporter of this game.
Yeah, I've been trying to push the
You're
game
really
forward.
raising yourself in Northern Boards to becoming kind of a community leader for this game.
Yeah, so I started a Discord for it. So, I mean, I made a post onto the official.
And so, if people
Facebook
want
for it.
to, get demo games in or give the game a go, they can contact you.
Yeah, they can contact me. They can join the
Is there
Discord
an
as well.
official? Can you send me a link for the
Yeah, I'll
Discord?
send you the
and I'll
link
post
as well.
it into the I'll post it into the description. So below, you can check it out. Check the game
Yeah,
out.
just click that. And I mean, even if you just want to have a look of like what it looks like or like how the art is, what the lore is, just a couple of the rules.
Yeah,
It's
because I know
always
you've
easy to
been
check out.
gathering community members to play it, and then it's a good sign if everyone that you've been giving demo games I've talked to has also gone out and then bought themselves a box.
Yeah, so we've gotten a couple of people who have gotten full armies, or not full armies, but like legal lists.
And how would you describe the gameplay? Like, how long does it take?
So, I mean, with people who are first starting out, it's going to take a little longer naturally. But similar to Warhammer, you got your different game sizes. So skirmish level, where you just need maybe a couple of ships, to your like really big ones, where you have your huge dreadnoughts and things. But generally, I'd say like your regular size game can take probably a little shorter than what a Warhammer game would be like.
Yeah.
Definitely depends.
About 3 hours ish.
3 hours. I was going to
And
say
there's a
about
fair
3
amount
hours.
of ships you can get on the table.
Yeah,
and
you
there's
can get
ships,
a few.
and there's also representations of the ground warfare happening as well. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can bomb cities and like pick up people and stuff.
Yeah, one of the few things where you can just deny objectives by like destroying them. I mean, humans, of course, are the best at it.
Yeah,
My
absolutely.
favorite faction for that reason.
Which faction would, if Kang lived in this universe, which one would he be in?
Ooh,
Just give me the robots.
I was going to say either the robots or the PHR.
He's just like a robot overlord.
What's the PHR again?
So the PHR, post Human Republic.
I'm down
guys.
with being a pirate as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So
Resistance would be the pirates.
yeah, I'm down.
What would Kang's pirate name be?
My pirate
Question.
name?
Pirate name.
Would I have like a very like Asian name? You know what I mean? Because like,
You can say that, but I can't.
let's come back to this.
all
I'll
think
think
it.
about my pirate name.
You know, in the interviews with Sarissa, she asked me, we're talking about like because she's like the beauty course,
Yeah.
and she said something about being like the Asians, like skin is different. They age faster or so. She asked me, I was like, I feel like that's an answer.
Why are you asking me?
Yeah, why are you asking me? I needed to then point out in the thing, I was like, that she is Asian, and it's weird that she's asking me that.
Yeah.
You got to come up with an answer.
I remember walking past the game. You were playing against Alex, who was also a big community member
yeah,
here
big
at
community
the
member.
boards, and he was playing as some faction which just launches torpedoes.
Yeah.
And he had effectively fired a line of torpedoes just up the board, and you was at the edge of the table, just standing there watching. Like, what am I supposed to do?
supposed to do?
I gotta get through. The torpedoes keep coming at me.
Yeah, and torpedoes are like one of the stronger weapons in the game because you can't really defend against them
Yeah.
the same way. You can't destroy them.
I do like that Alex,
terrifying.
in a very small amount of time, had gamed the system already.
Yeah,
Do you have a favorite faction?
paid with it. I'm definitely huge on the. It used to be UCM. I'm kind of switching to the Scourge just because
Yeah.
I like some of the new ships.
They look cool, man.
They look great.
You've painted them with the color shift paints. They kind of
Yeah.
like give a little pearlescent effect on the ships, and they really take to it nice as well.
I've done a lot of experimenting with them, and I mean, painting with those metallic shift paints doesn't get that same
Yeah.
effect. And I've just started getting back into airbrushing, and it really comes out a lot better when you airbrush with those color shifting paints.
Yeah.
And yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Do you have a favorite faction, a concept you like, Danny?
which one? Do you prefer?
What faction would Danny be?
He would be.
He'd be
Resistance,
like Space
100%.
Pirate
He would be
or-
Space Pirate.
I would have gone for the orb. I
The
think.
orb? You'd just
Yeah,
be
'cause
like,
what I'm really looking for at this point in my life is some other answer that's out of my control.
Yeah.
I've tried.
Okay.
I've tried being in control of my own life, and I think that it's not 100% worked.
Someone else to take the wheel.
Yeah, maybe I'm not a super religious guy. You know, I've never really ventured down in that. My parents weren't. But what I'd really like is everything to be something else's problem. Is if I could blame the orb.
dude, if
blame
the
the
orb
orb,
came to you and was
perfect.
like, don't worry about things anymore, I got you,
Yeah.
you're good, and guess what? I can give you a sick robot body that's absolutely jacked to the nine heavens.
Never have to
Yeah.
work
Just
out
done
again.
deals.
Yeah,
Perfect.
like
Yeah.
if I make a really bad decision in my life, I'd like that to be the orb's problem, not mine. I want as little accountability as possible.
Beautiful. I think that suits Daddy then.
Danny disappears for 10 years, comes back, and looks like Colossus from the X-Men.
From the X-Men, yeah.
All
Just
the
full
children are
metallic
left behind
body.
are like, Daddy.
Daddy, where have you been? Why did you leave?
There's little quirks about this universe, little design features that I'm quite a fan of. I know in the human ships, right, they're all the ships are named after major cities.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit of a representation of like the fallen cities.
Oh, so I could have a Perth.
Perth is a ship. It's a ship with a giant laser, and that's all it does.
Do you think it's named after our Perth or the Perth
No, it's our Perth.
in Scotland?
Nah, that Scottish Perth is even smaller than us. Right?
Is it really?
I think it's
And
irrelevant.
the Perth ship is one of the bigger ones.
Oh.
And it just has a big cannon. I love
I'm
it.
down that Perth's job is to just to fire a giant laser.
It's a
It'd be
fire
cool.
giant laser that, if it hits, is terrifying.
You know how in 40k, like the massive dreadnoughts are like have like their own flavor and cities and things
Correct.
going on inside them. It'd be cool if these ones had like representations of the city that it's from, right? So you know
Right.
there'd be like the bell tower inside, or maybe the bell tower is the shape of the front of the ship. or
Nice,
something.
nice,
And then
nice.
like there'd be I don't know, a lot of homeless people just
I
wandering
was
around
gonna
inside
say,
the ship.
what would Perth's theme be? What would have
the
on
Perth
the
ship
ship?
is just completely covered in like mining corporations.
All the soldiers,
They
like,
just want to take more land.
Yeah.
the soldiers are training on the inside, but they're doing that with boxing classes with kangaroos. They're just fighting kangaroos.
Nice.
That's how they become like the world's best, like tactical fighters.
These ships are fairly large and substantial, so it almost is like a city living on the ship, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously on a podcast I can't show you the size for scale, but if you ever see like what the missile looks like, I've looked it up and I've done extensive research. But the missile is like 200 meters, like inland.
200
It's a
meters.
jack
200
load.
meters. They're giant.
I like the idea of you shooting it at a planet and it just goes through the planet.
I mean, yes, but and like one of the small UCM ships, the smaller ones, is about 2 missiles long, so roughly 400 meters, and I'm like, oh no, that's
Yeah.
huge.
Imagine being
That's almost 40k in terms of scale.
scale. Yeah.
Imagine being that 400 meter ship getting hit by a 200 meter
that missile will destroy that ship. It's like, what do you do?
The missile doesn't even explode. It just bridges. It
goes
just
through
goes. Yeah, it blows. It just pushes right through it. So.
Are there any melee ships that just kind of ram things?
So the Scourge have some melee ships.
Yeah.
And they're kind of based off leeches. The whole thing is they want to come up and just like latch onto a ship and then just put a lot of dudes inside.
What's that deck building game?
Terrifying.
It's like Starfleet or Star.
Oh, I don't know.
You put the little bases out and you have you collect
Oh,
ships.
yeah. It's the one with the UFO, the little UFOs that you built. I know this board game you're talking about. I'll have to find it out.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's
Yeah.
it sounds the Scourge sounds a lot like the green alien ships in that game. You would have played it. It's like it's called like Starfleet or something like that. And you build your deck of cards by playing new cards, and then you've got to kill each other on life totals. It's very
Okay.
common, but it's that the Scourge is feeling a lot like that
Like
one.
them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super descriptive.
So you got an image in your head of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cosmic Encounters.
Oh,
No.
okay. I know
No,
exactly
no,
what
no.
you're talking about now. If it's Cosmic Encounters,
Space.
space.
Space base.
I don't know, dude. I just pulled up a list. Tell you what is a
be any
great.
of them.
Tell you what is a great space game that's actually very similar to the world you discovered. You're describing Twilight Imperium. How many of us have played
I
Twilight
know,
Imperium?
Yeah.
I've played half of a game.
Yeah, I've also played half a game.
I have.
It's a bit hard to finish.
I own Twilight Imperium 4th edition and all the expansions, and I've played it
wow.
in my lifetime a total of twice.
It's
In my
hard game to get
probable 10 years of owning that game, I've played it twice.
I feel like that's the classic board game experience where you
Correct.
expect to play it a lot more than you.
There's
than you actually
my
do.
favorite part of a Twilight Imperium review was at the very bottom on the conclusion. Someone asked, "How many times do you think you're actually going to play this in your lifetime?" And it's one of those games where Twilight Imperium is an amazing experience. It's an awesome, fantastically crafted space opera of a board game. It just takes 14 hours to play.
yeah.
I feel like it's one of those. It's more to me. It's like a D&D adventure where
Correct.
you need to have the same 4 guys come back like 2 months from now, and you pick up where you left off.
left off,
And maybe if
yeah.
you just leave at one of your like unsuspecting wives' homes where they just have to live on the diner table, like you know what I mean, for the next like I guess 3 or 4 months. Like sorry, love.
It's not a game you could just pack up and save.
Yeah,
like,
well,
have
it's
like a
also
save slot.
once you get into the commitment of it, getting deep into it, you don't want to have to start again. You know, you want to finish that story. We played the what's the space show that Nathan Fillion was in?
Oh, Oh my god, we're gonna get crucified for not knowing. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
It got cancelled.
Yeah, the one that got
Firefly.
Yeah.
Firefly.
So we played the Firefly game. So James, that who's popped in here, plays Lord of the Rings every now and again here. He had Firefly with all the expansions, and we played this way back in the day with Gamagori. And I remember it was like a big setup, very much like Twilight Imperium, same kind of thing. You collect and trade resources and trade routes and like upgrade your ship, and there's like so many elements to this game. And we were playing it till like 4 a.m. one of these nights.
Yeah.
Classic board games.
There was Connor, my mate Connor with the dreadlocks, and James got into like a proper dispute over whether something could work or not. And I was generally the rules arbiter on these, because back in the day when I learned the board, I'd be the one who learned all the rules. And I thought they were both kind of wrong, but I also like, it was 4 a.m. and I was like not prepared to like get into their debate.
A heated debate.
What happened was a fairly large argument ensued, and to be honest with you, I was a bit of an asshole, so I was like, this is funny. So I kind of just let it happen. And
while they're arguing, you can have a quick power nap.
You could tell because they're both like real adults, so arguing over a board game is fucking stupid. And they both were there, but they both really, really wanted their situation to occur. So it was kind of like an armistice of argument where they were trying to kick off but not kick off at the same time. I was like, I'm involved with this, and that was the last time we played Firefly. I think that was a 9-hour endeavor. And we didn't finish the game. But what happened was like when you played that, could be like hours and hours and hours. But there was an NPC version of the round of the game, which is like the Raiders. And the Raiders could just run rampant and just knock a player out. So like 5 of us or 6 of us could start playing and play for 9 hours. But like Kai, you might get kicked out in the first hour and a half by the Raiders. And
some like board game AI is just like, you are the sacrifice.
Yeah. That's the problem with any of those giant strategy games. Sometimes a player just knows they're not going to be in it, but they still have to play the game for 6 hours.
Yeah. You're definitely not going to win. I saw that with a group of friends who played, I think it was here, or maybe I could Gamagori. It's hard to tell.
To be fair, though, I do describe that as poor game design.
Yes, I think so, yeah. I think it's when you're trying to stick to the story or the design of the original concept, like you kind of like shoehorned by that. Because the one I'm thinking of is with Game of Thrones, and they had the entire map of like real Game of Thrones.
Westeros.
Yeah, well, they had the entire thing. And
I have fond memories of playing that game.
Like moving parts, and these guys played for hours and hours and hours, but a couple of them were clearly out of the game early on, and there was like kind of no point in them playing. Yeah. But it's also necessary for them to play because the other players had to interact with them.
There's a board game that I play a ton of, which is the OG Dune board game. And that's one of the classic style of strategy board games where it doesn't hold your hand.
Is that the circular one?
It's the circular one where it maps Arrakis. And once again, we're mentioning Dune on the Boardcast.
The Dunecast.
Yeah, the Dunecast.
For the 600th time in a row.
I know, the 600th time in a row. It's based off of the old Dune board game, and just like old strategy board game design, there's no hand holding. And in the actual manual itself, it says, listen, if you don't do things correctly in early game, you can just be out of it. So here's what we recommend. And then I always tell people before we play the game, like these are certain things you have to worry about. There's certain things like if you run out of water, you just die. You just die. Like you're not in the game anymore.
I feel like that's an integral part of like the Arrakis situation, though. You know what I mean? Like it seems harsh, but I feel like that's the harsh reality.
The whole point of the board game is it's supposed to not be holding your hand. It's just like the universe wouldn't. And I'm a big fan of like the sci-fi space setting. Like as much as I love fantasy and magic and elves and orcs and dwarves and yada yada yada, something about space and something about the infinite is so alluring to me because there's so much mystery. There's things like you mentioned, like the orb, like in the Droplet Commander. Space offers you a presence to be like, this orb could be anything, could come from anywhere.
You're not given any information.
These horrors of the universe become so much more potentially. For me, becomes there's a lot of depth there of the infinite.
I feel like in Kang's behalf, it's more like he's embracing the 1600s of the situation where he could be an asshole to everybody in this town, and then he could move like, I don't know, an hour away into the next town, and he can start again.
I can solo it. I can keep jumping planet to planet.
Space exploration provides the same thing. Like he can, become some megalomaniac emperor on this planet.
You can rule one world.
And then once that planet's burnt to the ground, he'd be like, oh, I'll just move to the next one.
Don't
start
worry
as
about
a
it.
dentist or something.
I was one of those kids that would like look out into space and be like, well, what else? What does it hold?
It's cool. I also would do that.
Yeah, because I used to go to the library and rent out books about like universes and nebulas and something about the absolute terrifying scale of it. Because
how small
really,
we are.
the truth is, space is terrifying, right? Like if you think about it, it's silly.
I always think this is why the Greeks and the Romans and so many previous religions came up with all of these reasons why the stars are this and the sun is that. Because like if you just look up, I was thinking when you just look up at the clouds, you're just looking into space. Like you're just looking into, and like it once it leaves your eyes, that goes on forever.
Yeah.
And that's like midlife crisis like situation kind of occurring where it's like you start having what is it, when you have like a
breakdown?
Like a breakdown. I'm like, it's crazy when you think you can just look straight at the sky and that cloud there is hundreds of thousands of meters above you. And then beyond that, it's just like infinite existence. And you're like, what am I?
What could exist out there? Like you got all the crazy like beyond life eldritch horrors creatures that could exist beyond our imaginations.
Well, we grew up quite poor, so we did a lot of camping. And it's like when you go out far enough
in the country, right?
Yeah, in the countryside, right? There's no light pollution. You can see all the stars and everything moving around. Right. And I always think of it's like, if you're living in like, the I don't know, like 100 BC, right? And your wife just got hit by a rogue cow that's walking down the street, and your third kid died of leprosy. You lie there at night and you stare up at the sky, and you're like, I have to believe in some sort of space god to make sense of like why I've got to get up tomorrow and keep going. You know what I mean? There needs to be more.
There needs to be motivation.
Yeah. Otherwise you just be like my entire family died of like black lung. Like, what do I do? And like, you need space god to be like, it was a test. And you're like, sure, let's go test.
You need a big orb.
Secretly space just holds like even more terrors.
Yeah, more terrors.
But yeah.
Hold the infinite.
There's a video game called Stellaris, where I think you might know about it. It's a strategy game, think of it like a Total War game, but it's set in space where like you have your planets, you have alien races and stuff, and you explore and conquer the world. That game for me has really captured that sense of like what the universe could offer, because it's a strategy game where like you could just be exploring the universe into like the vastness of nothing. You're flying past giant suns and black holes, and all of a sudden you just encounter like a derelict spaceship of some unknown origin. You don't know what's going on. The crew is entirely abandoned. You walk in and you find mysterious texts or alien eggs and stuff, and there's all sorts of terrifying things you can find. Like
if you're exploring space, are you getting in a random ship that you find?
Yeah, why not?
No.
Why not?
If I find a random
risk
whether it's
reward,
human or
risk
not.
reward. Okay, reward, cool treasures and technology.
Sure.
Potential dangers. I know, facehuggers.
Yeah, that's like I feel like the risk side of it is so significantly higher, right?
Or like like in the game, like you'll encounter this like a giant orb, like a droplet commander. This giant orb which is just starts speaking to you in like cryptic languages.
Imagine if you were out there in space, right? And you come across this giant orb, and it is like a sentient god,
and it speaks to you,
and you just look at you like, "No, fuck that," and you just leave. And the sentient orb god's like, "I've been waiting 10,000 generations."
Wait! You're the chosen one. You need to come back.
And you're just like flipping off the orb as you drive away. You're like, "No, not doing it. I'm not doing this."
Oh, wait, I've always imagined that if Jesus does come back, right? If there is third coming of Jesus, second coming of Jesus, I feel like modern day humans would be like,
yeah, they just think it's some guy, and he'd end up like on the streets of California as a homeless guy, and he's like, I'm actual Jesus, but I'm stuck here.
Nobody believes me.
Yeah.
No, guys, watch this. He turns water to wine. It's like, all right, David Blaine.
Yeah. Do you think he'd just be like mega disappointed at us? Like he'd look around what's going on. He'd just see one page of like XXX next, and he'd be like,
Have you seen the internet theory? I remember reading a fun little like short story on the internet where like there hasn't been anyone entering heaven for like generations and generations.
Isn't like regular? I don't know that much about religion, but is it regular Christianity? There's like a maximum in there, or is that Judaism? One of them
there is one of them. There's a maximum entry.
Yeah. So it's like after that, it's just overflow.
To be fair though, like have you know about like the American like evangelical like preachers who are like you can buy a ticket into heaven. Just pay me in Bitcoin. Yeah. Yeah, have you seen it?
So he can go around and
respect the hustle.
To be fair though, there's also the bad side of those evangelical cultists. You know, like the Heaven's Gate thing. Yeah.
I did have a girl ask me on Tinder today if I was like interested in getting married, because I'm obviously like I'm not religious.
How many talks did you guys have? Just the first one, she drops a bombshell.
Well, what I did was I googled,
what's your opinion on marriage?
I googled the Pastafarian thing and then just sent that back to her. So
the Pastafarian?
Yeah, you not seen the Pastafarian thing?
No, I'm not clued in.
All right,
you know anything about this guy?
No.
Are you serious?
This is
What's
the
your
first
opinion
for
on
me.
marriage?
It's actually massive. So,
This is the first date?
Pastafarianism is a satirical religion that promotes a light-hearted view of faith. It is based on the belief that the flying spaghetti monster created the universe. It's been going since 2005, and in the US, it's a legally
I'm down.
legally noted religion that you can join and put on your passport.
Well, I'm sold. Do you
Driver's
want
license.
to? Do you want to join in? You sign up?
We actually could, yeah.
You want to sign up?
Is
You want to
this
sign up,
like,
Kai?
Is this like saying I'm a Jedi or a Sith?
So
on
this,
like the,
this
No.
spaghetti monster is the
I'm
is
down.
Is
You
the
sold me.
god.
I can
Okay.
worship that.
After
All
looking
right,
at the
Kai,
spaghetti monster.
are you ready to?
When you're applying for your
Worship the
passport,
spaghetti
you're
god.
allowed to wear a colander on your head.
Ooh.
It's part of the religious.
What's the
track.
the holy scripture? Our pasta art in heaven, hallowed be thy pasta, hallowed be thy spaghetti. I'm sold. Anyway, Kai, outside of Drop Fleet Commander,
Yes.
the next big thing I see you do a lot is still board games.
Yes, always.
We used to play a lot of board games as well, me and you. I know you're still quite the massive board game collector as well.
I'm
How do you?
ever
What
growing.
got you into board games?
I would say, I don't know if Danny knows this, but back, this would have been 2012, D&D came out with a couple of their own board games and game systems where they would have the D&D miniatures, but there'd be kind of their own contained board game where you would kind of go against the AI of the game.
Yeah.
And
This was
Had
at the
5 of
advent
them?
of 5e as well.
yes, 5e came out. And I was a real sucker for some of the models because I wanted to get into D&D, but didn't have anybody to play with.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's
But
a
you
lot
could play
easier to
with yourself
convince a
with
couple
these.
mates. Oh, so you could actually like join on the adventure by yourself.
Yeah, it was like you could do it fully solo, you could do it like with friends. And also it gave you miniatures and map tiles. So good way to start kind of getting your
Those
collection.
2010s was in my opinion a renaissance of board
Yes.
game design as a massive booming market as more and more people were giving board games a go as well.
Oh yeah. And just like some of the more interesting game mechanics
Yeah.
that came out with things. I mean, it kind of started there for me for sure. And when I came to Northern Boards, I found people that would like be interested in just trying these games out. And obviously people who would come with their own board games and I could try out. And I would watch like a lot of YouTube videos. Shut Up and Sit Down's a big one.
Big one.
I know you have partaken in.
Yeah.
And
I think
would-
it was like I think I consider like you, Ian, and a few others as kind of like my more regular board game crew.
regular
That if
ones.
I think about running a board game night, you guys would be like kind of the first.
we
few
would be
picks.
down.
Yeah,
We'd be
yeah,
down.
yeah.
We'd bring our own board games and we're more than happy to have people.
You can always tell when someone is a board game person because they just like the people you play board games with is such a massive part of how to enjoy a board game. And you get the board game folks that are just like way more into the role play, way more into the selling of the game itself. The
Yeah,
narrative.
getting into it, yeah.
They'll go out their own way to learn the rules, and they've also played enough board games to kind of just pick it up faster.
And also-
there's nothing worse than like there's nothing worse for me than like I'll bring a board game to a party or a group of friends, and I'll really trying to sell them on the board game, and they're just
not interested.
just not in it.
Just don't want to.
Yeah, it's hard. You got to kind of read the room of like, are they going to be into this complexity of the game as well? Because I think sometimes, like something as like simple as like D&D or like Star Wars can be misleading to how complex the game play is actually going to be. And it's hard if someone I found over the years having someone who's a bit more fluent in the game be able to get the game moving quicker. The worst is when you sit down with the mates and you've got a new board game and you start reading the rules then and there. And
Yeah,
it's
no,
like,
you need someone
Pulling up
responsible
a
enough to
video
read
of
it. Yeah.
the rules. I think a big thing with board games is if you learning to be able to explain and teach a board game is such
Yeah,
a
correct.
huge vital part of getting people
That
to
was a
play
big
with you.
trial and error thing for me, where the more I had to teach people board games, the more I realized the best way to teach it is kind of quick spiel and then just dive in and go. So,
Explain
do
as you go.
you have a favorite genre type of board game?
Ooh, a favorite genre.
Yeah. I've seen you play all sorts.
Yeah, I've dabbled in. I mean, I do play a lot of niche ones that maybe I've only put out once.
Sure.
I mean, I love spaceships. So Nemesis is a big one for
Nemesis
me.
is a ton of fun.
Nemesis is great. I missed the Kickstarter for the third one.
We've
they
played
came out
Eclipse
with.
before as well. We
Eclipse
have
is
played
great.
Eclipse.
I think Eclipse is definitely up there for me. I definitely think kind of the more sci-fi.
Oftentimes, people like to compare Eclipse to Twilight Imperium, but I really truly believe they're very separate
own
games.
thing.
And Eclipse is way shorter, which is
Way
a
shorter.
huge pro.
I mean,
what's Eclipse? So it's
so
the
Eclipse
same kind of thing?
it's sort of similar. I mean, you have like map tiles, and so the whole thing about Eclipse is, I mean, the lore is like you are a species after like the universal war. The ceasefire has just been announced, but everyone's kind of on tension, and you're playing like alien. You can play as either human or an alien race, and alien races are much harder to play because they are wacky.
Yeah,
whereas
yeah.
your humans are always balanced. But So you kind of have your ships, but all your ships are kind of customizable. So as the game progresses, you discover these new technologies. Some of them are like universal, anybody can have them. Some of them are like unique, and if you get them, you're the only one that can use them. And like you can build your ship. So you can build like your smallest ship to just launch a missile and just bank on
They're
that.
both space opera style strategy games, where Twilight Imperium leans harder onto like politics and a big space council kind of gathering thing. Think of it more like almost like Star Warsy. And then Eclipse really leans a bit more into the we're gonna battle each other and war, and has technology trees where you upgrade your ships in battle. So
kind of more.
but they give off similar vibes in my opinion.
I think that's the big thing, because people look at like when you look at the back of the box, you can definitely look at the two and be like, what's the difference here?
We've all played a bunch of board games, like all the classic stuff. Do you have any opinions on Wingspan?
Wingspan for me is a game that I played twice now.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay.
We can say it. I just think Wingspan's not good.
I just think it's not my thing.
Yeah.
And they came out with Wormspan, like the dragon version of it.
I think it's getting better. I think that each iteration.
Have you
is
seen the
getting
new
better.
one?
Yeah.
There's another one?
Finspan.
The fish span, it's the fish,
Fish.
one. Yeah.
You're
What do you think is
kidding.
more popular, fish or birds?
You know what's funny? I think it was you and I, Kang. We joked about it. What are they going to do next? What animals? Because like, you know, what other things have wings? And we joked about it. I don't know if it was you or me that said it.
I think you said, yeah.
Fish have fins and they kind of like wings. And then like within weeks, they've announced that. And I was like, what
I mean,
the
they
fuck?
fly through the water, right?
I think what they need is like with the birds. There's so many different types of birds, so you can have all these different expansions, and it's like you're marketable something to produce out of it. With dragons, you're just making dragons up, so you can do whatever you want. But after that, like, what animals are they using? Fish. There's fuckloads of fish.
Yeah.
Like they
There's a
can
lot of
use.
fish.
They can
I
do
didn't
heaps of
realize
fish.
how passionate people are about fishes too.
Really?
Because I joked about like I get why people enjoy birds. Birds are like cute.
Bird
You see
watching
them
is a
around
whole
all the
thing.
time. It's a
Apparently
very
in
active
America, there's a
hobby.
big, not like one of the younger generations. I don't know the whatever one, but it's a big on bird watching is like a coming back thing.
Yeah.
because
The
they'll-
renaissance of bird
people want to
watching.
reconnect.
yeah, they'll
with
leave
nature.
their phones behind and just take books. And then they're like disconnecting from technology.
It's peaceful.
And walking around looking at birds and shit.
I can be down for that. But the fish thing is a bit more foreign to me. I didn't realize people were so into fish because I had people pre-ordering.
yeah, there's only like
Wingspan.
3 types of fish, right?
Big fish, little fish, medium fish.
He's on it.
Red fish, blue fish, big fish, small fish.
What's your current rotation of board games you've played? Like, what is your like current high rotation board games? Because every board game, every avid board game. So I like to say that there's a lifespan of a board gamer. Everyone goes through a phase where they're just building up, collecting board games, experimenting with every board game possible,
When you
want to
just-
try it all.
Yeah.
And then you finally reach a point
When you
of
discover
bo-
Kickstarter,
Yeah.
like that's a big
Yeah.
part of being a
It
board
definitely
gamer.
starts with
I'm a
Kickstarter for a
big
lot of
sucker for
people.
Kickstarter. And then you finally reach a point in your life where you reach, I call it like board game enlightenment. When you're like, I don't need these board games.
Yeah.
Because really, I've discovered that there's maybe 3 board games in my collection that I really, really like, and just the board games that I actually want to play. And then you sell all your
All the
remaining board
rest.
games.
I think what it is if you do you have a regular group of people, like the same 4 or 5 people that you play board games with, and then you're constantly able to get new games and play them with those people. But if you're constantly changing your group up, it's always easier
Yeah.
to go back onto some of the mainstays or like a pillar kind of board games where you know there might be like, you know, your mate's got his new girlfriend and like you can't start with something like too integral, so you go back to like Catan or Carcassonne or something.
Oh yeah.
And I think I think that makes a big difference. But I do know a couple people that have really regular groups of board gamers, and they can always try that new thing. They can commit to like some of the big, heavy, big
Yeah,
box
yeah.
games.
The
because they're
classic,
all, you know, they're in the jive, they're ready to go.
The friend group that actually is ready to play Gloomhaven.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gloomhaven is exactly what
Well,
I was
I was
going
gonna
to
I know,
say.
say.
I know probably like 4 people have ever actually finished Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Gloomhaven is such a
But you're
big
one of them, right, Kai?
I have recently acquired, I say recently, I've had it for about a month now, and I've convinced my partner to play with me.
Yeah.
She loves the game, except
Because you guys started with Jaws of the Lion.
Jaws of the
Which
Lion.
is, in my opinion, the correct way to start Gloomhaven.
I think it's pretty good. And also just, I mean, having your map tiles, not being tiles, just the book. You just open a book and there's your map. I love book map games. I have another one that's called like Fable Fantasy or something. It's like about a girl who dreams and like these teddy bears are trying to like help her not have nightmares. And it uses that kind of same format where it's a book, and then like, if you want to go to the next area, you have to flip the book. And I think it's very clever.
Yeah.
If you can implement it correctly.
That concept's cool. Like being able to like, I think I played so many games. Like Zombicide was the same. Like,
Yes.
and a lot of games where the tile setup is such a big part of the game that it's it's kind of like
fatiguing. to
yeah,
set up.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I want to do this, but I really don't want to do this part.
I've had
of
a
it.
fair few new board games where they switch to that booklet style system where you just
And also
fold a
just
book
set
out
up.
and then that's you can change pages and it progresses the story.
Yeah. And setup for a lot of games can vary from like, you have 15 minutes to set up these tiles to 30 minutes to an hour. And then how much game time are you actually playing? Like Zombie Side is one of those games where it's like pack up time as well. It's like I had put out every single model
Yeah.
and now I've got to figure out what spot they go back into. And this is going to take an hour.
Yeah.
So the book just makes things significantly easier. And Jaws of the Lion itself still follows through with the whole thing of Gloomhaven. Like a lot of the same rules, a lot of the same ideas. So it's a great entry point to that. Also, I mean, it's cheaper as well, which
So is Gloomhaven on your current high rotation?
I would say, I mean, we're playing it at the moment, me and my partner, but I would probably say it's one of those things that, like, I mean, if I finish, I'm not going to be
Yeah.
going back to it.
What would your top 3 be then? What's your current top 3?
I would say my top 3, I think Nemesis is definitely a big one that I'll probably bring out with a lot of, like, friends who will want to play board games. Like, I'll bring it out every so often. So that's definitely a mainstay for me. Other than that, it's probably changed. It probably used to be Scythe is one of them.
Scythe, yeah.
Scythe was a big one, but I also have the Rise of Fenris, which is like the campaign
expansion.
version of it. So you kind of have, I mean, similar to any like the D&D and stuff, where you have people keep coming back to it. But with fan groups that rotate through, it's a bit harder to get that regular.
Yeah, not everyone's super into
Play.
the idea of sitting down playing Scythe.
Yeah.
It's in like I would give it a solid hour 30 board game.
Yeah, and obviously if you're playing with more people, it's also sort of a more solved game because with some of the interactions, you can definitely know how to
For sure.
game the system.
It's a strategy game, so you're going to get the person that has played enough times where they now know the strategies.
Yeah. They have mitigated a little bit by getting like randomized map tiles, but they can only do so much with
Right.
strategy games.
What about you, Danny? Do you have a top 3?
Yeah, so I did Google it because the
yeah.
name had escaped me, and I spent the last 5 minutes just trying to think about the
You're
name.
like, oh, think,
Yeah,
oh, Scrabble.
instead of listening. Yeah, It was- for me, the most played board game now for me is definitely Lords of Waterdeep. For like,
Yes.
Solid.
and
Solid
it's
game.
such a good game. I think what I appreciate about most in a board game is when the game ends before you want it to finish, and not it's taken so long that you all are kind of like deciding with the people you're playing if you want to keep
Yeah.
going or not. I think that finding that perfect pivotal point where it's like just long enough that you've really enjoyed it and you wish it was keep going, but it's finished.
This
is
segment
so
is
important.
It's kind of semi-turned into the Boardcast recommends board games for you to go out and buy.
You should come out with your own stamp for board games and like
Board game
on the
recommendations.
board games you get, you just put the sticker on it.
Yeah, that's
we
actually
make
a
this
You know how
8 out of
JB
10.
Hi-Fi has those little tags where it's
Yes.
like, why we recommend this?
That's how we'll market the Boardcast, is by just putting those stickers on every game inside of a good games world in this
Beautiful.
June
We're
Love.
going to go to all the board game stores and just like have a pile
We'll
of
put
them.
on every
Stick-
single
Sticker
one,
bomb
yeah.
things when totally not a
We
nuisance.
just recommend every single thing, like
Recommend them all.
the Simpsons Lego box.
Yeah.
Just recommend.
Sorry, anyway, Lords of Waterdeep.
Like for me, like Lords of Waterdeep is such a banger because you have all these different ways to score points. There's like maybe 5, 6, 7 ways to score points in different directions, and you add them all up at the end. And there's some that there's a trick ones, and there's some that are like secret. There's some that you can see and you can interact with your opponent. And at the end of the game, a lot of the time you can be 1 or 2 points away. You have to call about like 100 to 200
Yeah.
points, and
Oh, yeah.
you and your opponents are 2 or 3 points away. Like it's a nail biter all the way to the end.
You got to love games where it's especially like Lords of Waterdeep, where you're going to get to the end, you don't necessarily know who's winning, and then it comes to such a close game, nobody feels bad
Yeah.
about that disparity.
Yeah,
For
it's
sure.
Not so much of a
Where you get
blowout.
to something like Twilight Imperium and you're sitting there and you're like, I'm not doing
I
well.
remember when I was playing with my friends during Twilight Imperium, I would actually have to gently nudge them away from doing dumb things that would
ruin
Yeah,
it.
'cause you want them
effectively
to
kill
stay
them.
in the game. Yeah.
But the good news is that the game itself isn't too terrible at just keeping it self-governed. Because when you're playing with, say, because we played with it at like a full 6 players. You really want even numbers for that game, 6 to 8 players. We played with 6 players. And the good news is that the game kind of self-governs. If someone's falling behind, like a Commander game, if someone's falling behind, they fall off the radar, everyone else starts fighting each other, bickering, and that person can kind of rebuild. And because the game goes for so long, you can actually just go for the long-term plan. I love Twilight Imperium because you can go for that super long-term plan where, like, I'm going to lay the seeds so that 4 hours from now, I will have my vengeance.
Yeah.
Reap what you sow.
Yeah.
I
Anyway.
like, so one of the, I don't know why it reminded me of this, but one of the games I like is more chaotic. So a lot of games you can game, right? You can
Yeah.
solve. Quacks of Quedlinburg
Quacks is a great one.
It's a push your luck game.
Would you say that's in your top 3?
It is definitely my
So
top
we got
three.
Nemesis, Quacks.
Quacks of Quedlingberg.
Do you know what Quacks is? Quacks of
No, I've
Quedlingberg?
never
you
even
seen
heard
it?
of it.
It's called a push your luck style game where you're a bunch of brewing cauldrons of like potions full of ingredients, and the idea is that you need to push the extent of your potion without it busting and blowing up in your face.
So you
And
get a
have a little
bag.
bag of ingredients. So you're grabbing things out. And you can go
Yeah,
further
yeah,
and further and further in. But if you go too far, push.
Your potion explodes. You don't get any. Or you have to choose between getting money or points.
Yeah.
And then as the game progresses, you put different ingredients in your bag, and you can't look in your bag once it's in your bag. So halfway through, you'll forget what's there, and you'll pull something out. It's like, oh, I had
Quacks
this
is,
in there the whole time.
yeah.
I really like the kind of like one of the big progenitors of that push your luck style board game.
Yeah.
There's one that we played a lot was Cubitos.
That was going to be my third pick.
Yeah? Your third
I've
pick?
played it so much with my family.
Yeah.
And I played it with Ian. I played it with, when you first, I got my copy from you. And that's when I first played it.
Yeah.
We played it probably 2 or 3
We
times.
played it a bunch.
We played it a bunch. And it was
Cubitos is once again a pusher style. I love it because it's a pusher luck style board game, but it involves dice. And the idea is that you're a racer trying to race through this kind of, or imagine it as a Mario Kart style super wacky races track. And the game involves rolling dice. And you really have to kind of roll the dice, and you can keep trying to roll your dice and push your luck. But obviously, if you don't roll a certain result enough times, you just like, your racer collapses, trips, falls over himself, hurts himself or something like that. And it's supposed to represent that like you're pushing your race as hard as you can and without trying to explode and do dumb things.
So you can like, it's like representing like little cars that are racing, or
No, yeah, just like think of like a track and field.
Oh yeah.
But everyone's like a cube shaped thing, and the fun thing is that it's a pusher like racing game where you're rolling dice, but it's also a kind of a deck builder because as you go through the race, you're collecting different kinds of dice. They have different types of results, and it changes how you run and race.
So there's a track, and then there's like different spaces on the track. So you can try to go further, or you can try to land on a space that gives you
combines
like, more
for me
money.
a lot of aspects of board games that I like, which is like competitive because I like versing other people in board games.
Yeah.
I like just that little bit of controlled variance, the little bit of randomness because it introduces narrative, and it's such a visceral game because you're constantly grabbing piles of dice and rolling it. And it's such a fun feel when you have like you're just sprinting to that finish line and you have in your palms like 12 dice and you're rolling it. You're like, oh man, what's gonna
And
happen?
if you roll all blanks, you bust.
And it's an engine builder because eventually you get this super crazy like stacks of dice which just boost each other, and then you're combining effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so both Cubitos and Quacks of Quedlinburg both have the thing where each of their ingredients or dice will have multiple ways of using those same things. So like one game, you might have a dice or an ingredient that would make you go even further, like significantly. But the next time you play, maybe it affects your opponent more or does one-time use, and then you have to discard that ingredient or dice forever. So it has more replayability in that way.
It's a really good top 3: Nemesis, Quacks, and Cubitos. How about yourself, Danny? You got Lords of Waterdeep.
Lots of Waterdeep.
I think Carcassonne has to be top 3 for me. Like a big fan. I've played a lot of it. When I was playing a lot of Carcassonne, I memorized every tile that was in just the base set, so I could almost card count what tiles were coming. I got exceptionally good at Carcassonne.
I describe Carcassonne as one of them like classic board games.
Yeah,
and just like
definitely a
those
pillar.
classic board games, they're super replayable and like you can get good at them.
I think a lot of people will baseline to Catan, but I always felt Carcassonne was a better starting point because it was a bit more of a journey to the end with the points and like, I don't know. I always just found like when teaching,
Plus a ton of expansions.
yeah, heaps of expansions.
many.
Yeah, I have a base set one and then like a degenerate piece of shit that has all of things in it. It's a nightmare to play because there's just like too many things going on. But if you've got like a few people that are like used to board games and understand how they work, you can get through it. But it's really like it's like an eye, like, you know, what do you call it? Like in a video game where if when you die, you're out, like an
Elimination?
Like an iron run or something, you know?
Oh, Iron Man run.
Yeah, like an Iron Man run. I feel like it's like that because you're like
Hardcore mode.
Every tile you pull out, you're like, what? Why are there 5 symbols on this? What is this?
You got to get out your little charcuterie board of information.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Yeah.
Am I looking at the right page?
With Carcassonne, the way they do the expansions is each new box has an expansion. Each new box has a booklet, and that tells you what those rules are. So when if you're playing with all the expansions, you've just got like 15 booklets with you at all times.
Have you guys? It's the same thing with like playing like Catan with every single expansion at the same time.
Yeah.
Have you? There's an
insane.
Auntie Donna bit. You guys know Auntie Donna?
Auntie Donna?
Yeah.
The YouTube channel. There's an Auntie Donna bit where it's them talking about like how it feels to play board games, and it's just an absolute like crazy roller coaster ride of some guy explaining the stupidest rules possible, and the guy's like, yeah. That's what board games with every expansion is
Yeah,
like.
and I think because we're like collector guys, like regular hobby guys, you collect all the expansions, you put them all together.
You can say what we are. We're hoarders.
Come on, we're
I
hoarders.
hoard the board games.
I feel like the way they're supposed to be played is like you just pick which expansion you're going to use on top of the game rather than piling them all on at the same time.
Most expansions are designed.
So do you have a third? Lords of Waterdeep, Carcassonne, and Zombicide, you reckon?
Nah, I played a lot, but I definitely wouldn't put it in like a top pick there. I think when I'm playing with like new people, like I play a lot of board games with new like people that aren't board gamers, I guess. We played like King of Tokyo. I think it's like a real base level, but it's so. I've never had not a fun
That's the
game of, like-
monster, like the big
monster.
stumpy
Yeah, they go in there
play
with the
the
dice, the
kaiju.
really tactile dice.
Yeah, I think the when you're talking about the Cuberto's dice thing, I feel like King of Tokyo very much like it's very like visceral. Like you're constantly rolling dice and there's things happening. They're quite large and chunky, so you hear them on the table. And I think because it moves quite quickly around the game and the game ends quite quickly, you can really have a few games or whatever. It's like I think it's just a good game for new people that aren't board gamers to play because it feels like something's going on. There's no really like low points where you're waiting for someone to do anything.
Yeah, you don't have those gaps of time where people are just sitting out.
And I think because the motion of anybody who's out the city does damage to people in the city, and anybody in the city does damage out, you're all constantly paying attention, I guess. Whereas I feel like it's harder with big ball games like Catan will feel for this, where when it's someone's turn, you're just kind of waiting for them to have their turn. And you can chat, obviously, there's banter between yourselves. But I think that when the board game engages everybody consistently, it's a big thing. But I generally think what has to fall into be my third is I forget the name of it, but it's the princess one where you Love Letter. For me, I've played
Great party game.
probably thousands of games of Love Letter, and like there's so many cool expansions that bring in tiny little changes to them. Like I really like the Munchkin Love Letter. It adds in like the gazebo and stuff like that, which do its own things, and like the dragon, which like it automatically knocks someone out if you've got this one and things. But it's like I like how all the Love Letters, they're really quick little games. You can play them really fast. You can like play them in between like a commander round or something. We do that so much back in the day, and I just think it's such a good game for having new people come into. And I remember playing Love Letter way back at like PAX or one of those kind of like things when it was first released, and I was with Josh from Gamagori, and we're both there. We're like, this is an amazing game, but it's a shame that it's got like 16th century princesses on it. Like, there's no way. How do you market?
There's a Star Wars one.
Yeah.
They came out with a Star Wars variant.
Yeah, but
Jabba the Hutt.
so there's all these really cool variants. But right at the start, it was just the princesses, and the whole storyline was that you were writing. It's called Love Letter because you were trying to determine in like a British style manner.
The masculine in you is kind of like, oh yeah, no, I can't be enjoying
Why
this.
is this king?
You're trying to determine which princess wrote the love letter to the prince, and I was like, the gameplay is so incredibly good. But we're like, this concept is a nightmare.
The theme just doesn't work for you.
But it's like so if you transposed away the theme and you just played the game with the points and the cards, great game. And then obviously they came out with all the variations.
Correct.
Like I think we've got a Batman one and a Star Wars one here and stuff like that, which is for me it's like it's such a really simple little game. Like it kind of feels like Exploding Kittens and all those kind of things. They feel like really base level, but you even as like an avid big board gamer, it feels such a nice little spot where you can just knock them out, you know?
Yeah.
Feels that kind of in between niche.
I'm in that very late stage board game hoarder where I've gone through a big purge. Like I've sold a lot of my board games. I don't have the same amount of time to play board games anymore. I've actually sold a lot of my board games to you, Kai.
Oh, yeah.
I've just kind of passed it on to you.
Yeah.
It was a real true point where I looked at my room and I had to come down to me just coming to, I need space back in my room.
Yeah.
Because I think I had a few dozen board games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But there's a couple board games that no matter what, I don't see myself selling. And one of them is like Detective City of Angels.
Oh, a great game.
Yeah. It's a game that I haven't played many times. But for me, I put it on my shelf, just sitting there as like one day I'll have time and I'll revisit you. Just like as a little crown jewel of like, I'm a big thematics person when it comes to board games. Detective City of Angels is a detective style game set in 1940s LA. And you have to imagine that you are like a LA noir,
Yeah, it's like Art Deco kind of
detective,
theme, is it?
very like sleazy upper LA Hollywood as you're solving crimes and like the classic old like Hollywood Vice days. And it's a beautiful design thematic game where it feels like a problem solver, but the idea that it works is that you have one person that is kind of a storyteller and every other player is a detective trying to solve cases. It's a narrative style game, so every case is in its own little packaged box, which is designed to be played individually.
Is it like a one and done situation?
Like a one and done,
Kind of, yeah.
like a one and done, and they're awesome design cases where like your detectives really feel like they're solving a case, and there's cool moments where you can interview suspects as well, and it's all framework through the game as well as a storyteller. I love it. It's a fantastic game. I've only played it a handful of times. One time I played it with you as well, Kai.
Yeah, and the ambiance was great.
It was fantastic. It really nailed that feeling of like when you're a detective and like you're piecing together the clues. Like there's this aha moment when like a detective finds like that essential piece of information. Like he gets fingerprints off the gun and he goes somewhere into the other side of the town and he interviews like a bunch of mobsters in a tavern. And he's like makes the connection. He's like, wait a minute, I get the line. And then boom, you get solved the case. And these cases get harder and harder and harder and harder, but they're all linked to this grand like narrative storytelling thing. And it feels like you're playing through a season of a good TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. I want to play more of that.
It's a game that I want to revisit. Outside of Detective City of Angels, like there's a lot of board games that I love. Everdell is just kind of a fun, great
The
one.
art direction of Everdell was so incredible.
Don't play with all the expansions. I don't know how you ever could. A lot of the Dune board games I like as well. And there's a quick shout out as well to, in my opinion, the best party board game. There's a game called Decrypto.
Oh, yeah.
Where it has never been like a bad time. I think the problem I have with a lot of party board games is that they're kind of just like not really there. The board game itself doesn't actually engage players much, and it's more of like a aspect for people to kind of just like have a quick laugh.
Yeah, I think
like,
it's the same thing that where you're like, Monopoly seems like not a board game anymore because you're a little bit more advanced for that. Whereas I think there's scales of people that get into the games where that is a lot for them.
My main gripe would be something like Cards Against Humanity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Decrypto is a party board game where it really doesn't insult the intelligence of the players, and it lets people have like fun, smart moments where they can kind of goof with each other as well in a party setting. And I love that a lot for it. So,
do you have a guilty pleasure game?
I was just about to ask, what's your guilty pleasure game? For me, I definitely do, but which one is it? There's so many board games. What is yours?
Ours, I used to play with Connor a lot. The 40K Talisman game.
Yeah.
It was a fucking nightmare.
my
3
God.
hours in.
It was so good. Like
Yeah.
it was like I very rarely we ever finished the game.
Talisman is the only board game that ever made me go, please let me out. Let me out of here, please.
The same way that it's described how we would play Lords of Waterdeep, how it finishes just before you want it to end. What we would do is we'd set like a timer for an hour and 15, and like you just turn the timer over and wait for the timer to go off. So nobody's like really like watching the time.
Yeah.
So you're not trying to game the time, but we're like, we want to play this game, but we don't want to be here 5 hours later.
Yeah.
So we just set an hour, 15, 2 hours, or whatever you want to do, and then you just ends.
You just call it.
Yeah. If there's no winners,
Whoever's
there's no
closest.
winners. Yeah. Whatever.
Them.
Briefly touching on Decrypto again. Decrypto for me is, it solves the gripe I have with board games like Secret Hitler is a little too shouty.
Oh,
And, like,
people talking
things
over
like-
each other.
Code names is a little too dry. And then you have like Decrypto solves it by, it's like, it's not a very shouty board game, but people get really into the conversations and engage with each other. It doesn't require a crazy amount of cooperation like Werewolf does as well.
It's not much of a salty game either. Like
Yeah. It's not a huge salty game because you're playing in teams as well. It's good fun.
You know what I did? I probably put in a top 3 really.
What is it,
It's like Takenoko.
Oh, yeah.
Takenoko is so good.
Just peaceful.
Yeah.
Just a peaceful little, I'm a little guy who's going to have a little journey and enjoy my journey.
Yeah. I think it's same thing, like bringing, because again, most of the time I was playing with people that weren't hobbyists. So it's like board games that are like quite easy to pick up and play and still, but you can like a tactical, you can really like push lean into the point system if you want to. I think Takenoko is so good in that regard. And like the cute little art of the panda and stuff like that really does a lot of work for when you're like, it's hard when I first taught like females how to play Lords of Waterdeep, especially ones that aren't super nerdy, but they want to sit down and play board games with it. Because it's like now it's more in the zeitgeist. Like you can have some wines on the weekend and spend
The
night
culture around board
doing it.
games now is very much aimed towards families and couples.
Yeah.
So more and more now, board games really aim towards like a female demographic as well now.
More inclusive, I'd definitely
Correct,
say.
massively more inclusive.
So like Lords, because I like the game so much, I really want to play it. I think the gameplay of Lords is so incredibly good. I would be like, all right, ignore all of this, right? Just there's no clerics, there's no rogues, there's no town. You got to collect because the whole thing is like your NPCs and you're giving out quests. Very much like my little game actually that we have to finish up in it with later on. The whole idea is you're collecting like clerics and rogues, and they're going to finish they're the ones going out doing the quests, so you complete the quests. I would just be like, all right, you have a card. It tells you how many colored blocks you need, and this is how many points you'll score for it. And if it has any additional abilities, this is what this will do. And I was like, I tried to always cut away as much of the nerdy stuff. So instead of me trying to explain that the rogues have to be like doing this and the clerics doing that and the warriors doing this, I could be like, just collect your colored blocks and score your points. Trust me, you'll have a good time. And by maybe whitewashing the game a little bit.
Kind of stripping it bare bones.
Yeah. It got some of the I guess the normies over the hump of like, well, why is go for
You get the
skullduggery.
Scrabble and Monopoly plays over.
Yeah.
Why is it called Water Deep?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like I think a lot of games are probably like that, where if you cut away some of the faff, they can get in some more of the people, but then the faff is what gives it the identity of the game as well.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't want to cut that away.
It's very important for some board games, like the theme. Like you can have, I don't know, let's say Lords of Waterdeep. You could do it in a completely different theme. Would you still like it the same way? Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe not.
You get people that are truly passionate about board games, and it's in the situation we're in here. We're actually we know people who are designing board games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm even designing a board game.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's called Cubedom. It's not really a push your luck
It's
game.
I've seen you demo it here. Like you've done
Yeah.
playtests.
Done some playtests, still in the works, but at this moment, I'm kind of just more working on the art for it than anything. So
Because we have Francois, who is Ellen's father. Ellen, who used to work here. Francois has been designing his own board game for the good part of a last decade.
Yeah, it's been ages.
And
can't imagine.
Because I think
Is he close to completion, or is it always like an ever evolutioning kind of thing?
I think he's stuck in this evolutioning, always going to be in development thing.
Yeah.
But he is really honing it into a complete product. Like I've been involved in probably 3 of the playtests, and each time you can really feel it.
I mean, yeah, when you're passionate about putting out something that you've put your blood, sweat, and tears in, right? Like you want it to be perfect.
I definitely played quite a few people's board games they've created over themselves, quite a few of these over the years. And it's always nice when you sit down and play and you're like, oh, this is actually a functional game, instead of you're playing an hour of your mate's board game, and you're like, oh, this is...
He's rewriting the rules as you guys are playing.
This is a lot. Yeah. Or sometimes it's, there's literally thousands and thousands of board games. Sometimes I'm like, man, there's there might be a game just like this, or it's just maybe a poorer version of something else as well. You know what I mean? Like this
Cheap
kind of
imitation.
exists. Yeah, they don't, in their mind, it's their baby and they're creating something. And I'm like, oh no, there's I can think of 3 games off the top of my head that are very much.
Here's a fun factoid of a board game that I don't think anyone should ever play, and I don't think anyone's ever actually completed. The longest board game ever designed is a game called War for North Africa. And I shit you not, if you look into it, it's a game that was actually published and designed. The game is designed to be played over the span of probably a year. You're supposed to set it up, and things take ludicrous amounts of time.
Like real time,
Not real
troops
time,
moving
as in
around
just
and
the
stuff?
complexity of the game is so. It's like a military simulator game, simulating the World War II North Africa, and people have done tests and just in theories of the game, and the game takes a year to play.
It's never been played, only theorized.
Even the developers in themselves have been like, "Oh, we've never finished the playtest."
If the developers have never finished the playtest, that's
There's secretly
saying
no end to the
something.
game. They've never written it in because they haven't got that
It's
far.
insane.
There's no win condition.
Yeah.
It's
just play.
It's a game where you'll lay out the battlefield, and it's probably 3 trestle tables worth.
Yeah.
So
Having the space in your house for that is going to be
I,
crazy.
once again, I've
a garage
I've
takeover
seen
situation.
YouTube I've seen YouTube videos of people attempting to give it a go. None of them have succeeded. It'll be like a world record global first.
You think there's one person out there that would?
Yeah,
Or at least
that person is extremely
still doing
unemployed.
it. They've been going on for years.
So, all right. For the last segment, you've been a fantastic guest, guy. For the
Thank
last
you.
segment here, Danny's got a special surprise for you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
We're adding you to our town, right? So we've started doing the interviews.
Yes.
Oh, Danny's got up and running somewhere.
Ooh.
Why do you have this? Why do you have Spaghetti God on the computer?
Should make that a pin.
I can't believe that. That updated. That's what I was doing on my phone.
Ooh.
I was gonna put it over the photo, like for the
Northern Boards is now the
'Cause
official
in
holy ground of the spaghetti.
The photo
god.
that I took at the start of the podcast is actually quite good, but there's the Coles bag directly in the thing of it. So the spaghetti monster is going to hide the Coles bag. So Kai, you're going to join our town, and we actually have to name the town. I should think about it. What we're going to call it, right? So it's going to be our like Northern Boards Boardcast, like town that we've created for us NPCs, very much like the Lords of Waterdeep. We are now the Lords of the Waterdeep. Lords of the Northern
Mick Northern Boards.
Northern Boards deep.
So Kai, you're a hunter trapper, right?
Okay.
And, that's where you were. You were a hunter trapper. You were out venturing into the forest somewhere, and you came across this portal, and you ventured into the portal, and you had your trusty hawk that you'd hunt and trap with.
Damn,
right?
his character's way cooler than mine.
Yeah.
You know what I am, Kai?
What are you?
I'm the
Kang?
dick pill salesman. I came to this town and I'm selling all sorts.
you're telling me
I'm
is
the snake oil guy. I
you're
came in
just
and I'm
yourself
like,
town.
hey, you want to buy some gas station dick pills?
Well, what is it?
So much power.
Everybody in the town has some sort of inhibiting situation because they've retired to this town because they've had the adventure days.
I'm
are
stuck
over.
here because I can't raise the money to leave.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So you're just in debt?
Yeah, he's
as a snake oil.
He's
seller?
selling like dodgy things, like rats pretending to be dragons and things.
Yeah.
Like
right.
dodgy stuff. But everyone knows it's dodgy, so they just kind of like just don't buy anything.
Everyone knows. It's like the
hardware.
unwritten.
Do you want to see
rule.
my talking chicken? I swear you can talk.
To me, the inspiration comes from the I was an
$2.
adventurer once, but I took an arrow to the knee. You know what I mean? You've had to retire to be like some sort of guy. So you, Kai, you're a trapper, and you're going down in the forest, right? And you came across this magical portal, and you entered the magical portal, but you entered with your hawk sitting on your shoulder, as you would want to do, generally speaking. What this really turned out to be was a transporting portal, and as you transported through, it merged you kind of like the fly. So
You're a bird person.
yeah.
I am bird man.
It took your personality and put it inside the bird. And the
Wait, you top half bird or bottom half bird?
No, he's fully bird.
I'm just bird.
So he's
I'm
just
both.
bird. So his brain is now inside
So
the
is
bird's
the bird's brain in my body?
So now the bird's brain is in your body. So as you emerge from the portal, you've come back and now you're sitting.
There's a naked Kai in the forest somewhere just pecking for worms.
No, he's still dressed, but
there's a Kai that's just flapping its arms trying to fly.
yes,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
So
yeah.
now you sit on top of your ex-body's shoulder and have to direct them around, but it's a bird, so you can give it instructions like a
Ooh,
bird.
you ratatouille
I was going to
yourself.
say, I just want to assume that like I'm like pecking my own hair, like pulling like Ratatouille.
Well, no,
like,
you're a
go
hawk.
this way.
You're quite a smart bird, So
Fair.
it's but you've also got the brain of like your. Of your
Can you speak? Is he able to communicate humanoid?
As
or
a
is he
bird,
communicating
can I
as a bird?
speak?
Ooh.
I would probably have to. I mean, like birds don't have the vocal cords to speak, so
true,
it'd probably
yeah.
be like me trying to.
Maybe it's a Ratatouille situation where you pull the back of the hair and he goes in different directions.
I'd like to think that different hair strands, like my body will naturally say certain words.
Certain things, yeah.
Like a dog with their little buttons. So I just have to like pull my own hair to say sentences.
Nice.
Like
Or I can sell you a potion that fixes your problem.
So you've had to retire back to this town that we all live in now, and you're being hired by the local security and the guards to because you can fly around now, so you can just look for like ruffians and
be a lookout.
if they're trying to find like the local dick pill salesman and he's maybe like set up his car in a place that he doesn't have a permit for. You're basically just
to be fair, Kai, my idea wasn't much better. But my idea was to be like the pornography salesman.
So
It's a long story.
Very different.
So you've come up with basically you're now like you can be like a bird because you can fly. Got the opportunity to fly. So in between just trying to wrangle your own body from not killing itself because it keeps trying to fly off like cliffs and things. You have this security service, and you've got to come up with a name for your security bird business. Because you got your big body you're a big hunter trapper.
Yeah.
So he's like the ruffian that you can go rough people up. You just direct them to it.
Looks like the bodyguard.
Yeah, it looks like a bodyguard. Yeah, while he's flapping around, and you have the ability of a hawk. You can go see things happening.
I can see. Wow.
I think you have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. So now you need to come up with a name for your characters. You got two.
Two to come up with.
And then the name for your business as well.
While Kai's doing that, do we have a quick recap of who's involved and what is everyone's role? So
You can recap that by going back and listening to last week's podcast.
Ooh, very
because
nice.
I need to go back to listen to that podcast a second time so I can write them all
Because
down.
because while I was doing editing, not everyone came up with names for themselves and their business. Some people got sidetracked.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
even notice.
Like for example, I had a name for my business, but I didn't have a name for my own character.
I think it's because what I did was I was giving the names to the characters, and then I thought it'd be funny if they came up with their own names.
came up with their own
So
names on the spot.
Okay.
As is,
Are people less or more creative than you thought?
some people did exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Some were a bit more tame, I would say. I don't want to say less creative, but I think a little bit less. Like it's hard to come up with things on the spot. You know.
Yeah.
I think the idea was. I'm going to give you this question because in the interviews I would give the question first, and then we do the interview, and then I'd expect it back. But I'm like, at the same time, they're supposed to be thinking about it. I'm asking them, I'm talking to them. You know, it's just distracting. Yeah.
They have like one thought and then have to think like, oh no, what was I thinking?
It definitely showed me who could like think on their feet a little bit quicker. You know.
Oh yeah. I would. It's hard. I'm immediately going to like, okay, how can I make this?
Don't take it too seriously because
well, my first
my
idea-
business is just KKK. It's an acronym to KKK. Yeah,
I think that fits.
it was Cookie Kang's Crafts.
all with K's.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would say so for my character, I want it to be like split. So like I would be like fowl as a bird, fowl, and then my body is shin. So then together we're falchion. Like falcon.
Nice, that's
That's
clever.
so smart.
Boom. Easy. And then when people refer to us, they'll go like, oh, Falcon's here. I'll be like, yeah, like with my little bird wing.
Which is signature weapons happen to be a falchion.
I'm a bird. I have talent. Now, if I could make my, like, strap a falchion to my body and then just be like trying to
Just
flap
flailing
with the
around.
falchion. I think that'd be a deadly combo, really. For me as well, but hey. But like,
Do we have a functioning economy in this town yet? Do we have enough occupations?
I think so. There's a bar, like a tavern, and
I mean, if I'm like
We have the hunter-gatherer.
Hunter-gatherer?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they would
we
sell
have, we have
pelts.
protein.
yep.
Yeah, food. I would say like the Bird Bureau or something. I'd definitely name it after me being a bird.
Yeah.
Don't worry about your elements. I sell potions for that.
I'd be wind.
So the end goal for this guy is to then send all of the characters and like a description of the town to a guy on Fiverr and have him draw like a map.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, so I also think it's cool to have like a visual representation of like a bunch of the regulars from the club, but as wacky characters.
And then you take your D&D campaign and you can then
I
set it
could
into that
use
town
them.
and we're all the NPCs in that town. And then you can get voice clips from all of us as the NPCs and like play them on like a soundboard.
Yeah. You could
That's amazing.
You could finally
we could have a
live that
Be the DM you
D&D
always
like
wanted to
you
be.
are the narrative master.
We could go do the
storyline.
Warhammer Fantasy thing, but then have like, you know, when we enter the like, you know, the forest, we come across like falchion with like hunting in the fucking
And they're
woods or
trying
some
to
shit.
talk to this body and just keep flapping at them. They're just so confused. It's like, what is
When
this?
William comes back, he
He's gonna
needs
be so
to
confused.
he needs to generate his own character too.
Yes.
Ooh, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
I can't wait to hear about that.
He's the librarian that doesn't read books.
Oh yeah, the scribe that doesn't know how to write, but he's surrounded by people that also
Doesn't
doesn't
read
write, so he
books.
just can tell people, you know, like.
He's a librarian but doesn't read books, so he knows nothing about that.
All right. Yeah, awesome. This little I like this little continuous adventure going on here. Thank you very much for joining us as well,
no,
Kai.
thank
Do you have any last words, any last things you want to say before we head off tonight?
Look, love Northern Boards. If anybody's curious about Drop Fleet, send me a text on Facebook. Join
I'll
the
grab the
Discord.
invites to
I'll get you
Discord.
the
I'll post it
link
in
to
there.
that. For people who are interested in board games, I mean, everybody in the community is great. I mean, hopefully we can start doing some more board game nights and get some regular days going for that. So if people want to come down, interested in starting some board games or interested in just getting into more of the community, look, there's so many people that are more than happy to give some demo games, get people started on that. So hopefully I see some more people.
Nice, sounds good. Love it.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Kai.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
I can be the fourth K to your triple.
Okay.
Take care, everyone.
Good night,
Enjoy the
lads.
rest of your night.
Good night, lads.